So we want to find the velocity, which is, as you know, the derivative of this thing up here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we want to do, it's a chain rule. The derivative of ln is always 1 over whatever the inside is. But we also have to multiply it by the derivative of the inside. Now in this problem, k is a constant, which means it's just like a number. So for instance, if you were taking the derivative of 2t, what would that be? The derivative of 2t would be 2, right? Well, if we have kt, then the derivative of that is just going to be k. So the derivative of the inside is just k, so I'm going to multiply that by k, but that means these k's cancel. So the derivative of that top function then is going to be 1 over t. I think on yours I saw that you left the k in there, but because of the chain rule, it cancels out. Okay, let's talk about the derivative of the bottom part now. So the bottom part is going to be a chain rule and a product rule. We have two things that are being multiplied together. So we have t being multiplied by cosine of 4 pi t. And that's why we have the product rule. So we have this one and this one being multiplied together, right? But when we get to this one here, that's going to end up being a chain rule because we have an outside function, which is cosine, and an inside function, which is 4 pi t. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the product rule first here. So the derivative of t, if I do that first, is going to be 1. And then we don't do the derivative of the other one for this pair. Next, for the next pair, we keep t the same, but we do the derivative of the cosine now. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a chain rule here. So the derivative of cosine is negative sine. And I'm going to actually put the negative up front here because I don't want to put it here. That makes it look like we're doing t minus sine, and we're not. It's times. So I'll just kind of save myself from making that blunder by putting the minus in the front. And then we're going to keep the inside the same here. But now we're going to multiply by the derivative of the inside. The derivative of the inside, well, once again, it's just a number multiplied by a variable. So when you take the derivative of that, it's just 4 pi. So, and also, once again, I think I'm just going to end up putting the 4 pi here in the front. Oops, I did not want to do that. Just a second. I think I'm just going to end up putting the 4 pi here in the front by the t. And so if I rewrote this in a little bit of a cleaner fashion, it would look like this. So we have cosine 4 pi t minus 4 pi t and then sine of 4 pi t. Running out of space here. So I'll kind of go vertical there, but there it is. Okay, so that's how you do the derivative for number 1. So there's our derivative. Now, I imagine if you had a hard time with part A, part B also would probably need a little bit of explanation. But like I said, I noticed on both of these you kind of had the idea. Anyway, let's go ahead and do the top one now. So we want to find the second derivative, right? To find the acceleration. So I want to do the derivative of 1 over t, which I think you already know how to do, but I'll show you anyway. The first thing we're going to do is going to rewrite it as t to the negative 1. Then we're going to do the product rule where we multiply negative 1 to the front and take 1 off of the power, which means that this can be just written like that. Okay. So our derivative is going to be 1 over t squared, and it's negative. Bottom one's going to be kind of a lot of work. Let's go ahead and work on that a little bit. So let's see. I think I'm going to need some writing space. Let me make somewhere to write all that. All right. So First of all, to find the derivative of the bottom piece here, we have to start by finding the derivative of cosine 4 pi t. So let's do that first. The derivative of cosine, once again, is negative sine. And we're also going to be multiplying by the derivative of the inside, 4 pi t, which is just going to be 4 pi. So that's that one. But now we need to take the derivative of this next part here. And that next part is another product rule. We have 4 pi t being multiplied with sine of 4 pi t. So for that one, we're going to have to put that in brackets there. And we're going to go a, b, plus a, b. Try to squeeze all that in there if I can. All right. So 4 pi t, or I should say negative 4 pi t, the derivative of that is going to be negative 4 pi. And then we won't do the derivative of the other one, so that's going to be sine of 4 pi t. All right. Next one, we will leave the negative 4 pi t alone. Now we need to multiply it by the derivative of the sine. So the derivative of the sine is going to be cosine. Or pi t. I'm outside of my brackets there a little bit. And we also have to multiply by the derivative of the inside because that is a chain rule. So when I do that, that's just the derivative of the inside is 4 pi. I already have a 4 pi here, so I'm just going to multiply the 4 pi times the one that I already have. So 4 pi times 4 pi is going to end up giving me negative 16 pi squared. Okay, and so there's that. Now an easier way to write this, by the way, notice that this and this are exactly the same. They're both negative 4 pi sine 4 pi t. We can combine those into negative 8 pi. I didn't do that on the sheet that I sent you, but it'll just be easier for me to squeeze it in there if I write it together like that. And then we have this last part over here, which is negative 16 pi squared t cosine of 4 pi t. Okay, and so that's what I'm going to put down here for the second one. So that was a big derivative to do. A lot of product rule and chain rule in there. And that's for all t greater than 1. Okay, so there's your second derivative, which is the answer to part B. So hopefully that's helpful.